Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Show Chilling and Grilling. However, today we're not gonna be grilling, but we are going to be cutting a whole beef rib roll. It's beef ribeye whole boneless USDA choice roll. It was $10.99 a pound. $147 for this thing, and trust me, I'm gonna get a lot of steaks out of here. We're gonna take out some medallion style steaks out of the eye of the rib roll. We're gonna take some ribeye cap steaks out of here, and then we'll freeze them and package them separately. And then in the future, you can grab however many steaks you want, throw them on the grill. For example, the ribeye cap roll steak, if you buy it at Costco, I've seen it over here in North Dakota once, and they were selling it for $36.99 if I am not mistaken. You know, and we just paid $10.99 a pound. They had the ribeyes bone-in for $10.99 a pound, and then the boneless ribeyes for $12.99 a pound. I got it for $10.99 a pound, so I'm basically paying it for a bone-in, but without the bone. So I'm saving $2 a pound right off the bat there, plus I get to cut them the way I like them. This is how we save money here. If you like steaks as much as I do, this is the best way to do it. Let's get into it. I just love using these two knives. There's a Victorinox 10-inch breaker knife. I'll link it down in the description. And then this is just a 6-inch boning knife. I got the medium, so it does bend a little, but it doesn't bend too much. It's not a fillet knife. I'm just gonna take the knife and then follow the angle right here on the sharpener, and I'm just gonna follow that, come back, and follow that. I'm just gonna do this just a couple of times. I like to use the ceramic. Breaker knife is a little bit longer, so be careful. We're just gonna do this just a couple of times. If you guys wanna do any sort of meat cutting at home, honestly, get yourself a couple of knives. They're not very expensive. Okay. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's cut it right here. I don't have a bigger cutting board, so that's why I'm using 3 different cutting boards, just so I can fit everything. So this is the tail over here of the meat. We're gonna take this tail off. We can use it for a lot of different purposes, like kebabs or little stir fry or anything you like. This is where the ribs lie, so there's like some silver skin over here that we're gonna try and remove, and then we're gonna take the whole cap off of here. The cap is the most delicious part of the whole ribeye. Let's start with that right here. So there's your ribeye. So there's your ribeye roll, and then there's your cap. The cap is the second or third most tender muscle in the whole cow. That's what we're trying to separate out right now. I like to use my fingers for a lot of it. We're literally just separating muscles. We're gonna get the help of our knife just a little bit, just to help separate everything. There's a lot of hard fat in between that we're gonna try and separate. Right now I'm just trying to make it more manageable. I'm just following the natural seam, the fat line. If you see, I'm just letting the weight of the meat do most of the work. If you're using chef's knives, they honestly don't cut the way these meat knives cut. This is the whole cap that we took off. Okay, I accidentally got a little bit of this, which goes in rib roll. So we're just gonna take that out and we can cook that separately. We're gonna try and keep most of the red on here as much as possible. I do like to keep a little bit of fat, but there's a lot of silver skin here, and that's what we're trying to remove. Like, this fat literally just comes right off. You can save all this fat and you can make fresh beef tallow from there. This is that little piece that I got accidentally. I realized it too late that I was cutting into it, but it's honestly not much meat. And it's still a very tender part of the steak, so you can just take this little piece out and make it a steak on its own, or make some kebabs out of it or whatever you would like. This I cut out accidentally. This goes into the chuck side of the roll. I accidentally took it with the cap steak because the seam was already separating and there's not much cleaning to do on here. You can just cube this up and just make some really nice kebabs on it. So really good meat. Do not grind that. Do not grind any meat off of here. I would not, personally at least. And the trick here is you want to raise your knife up on an angle a little bit so you can get under the silver skin. You don't want to eat silver skin. It is extremely tough. It does not break down. This is probably the most tedious part of the whole job, is getting the silver skin out, at least for me. I'm not a professional butcher. I just do it as a hobby, and I'm more of a perfectionist. You want to do a lot of flat trimming. What that means is you want to keep your knife as flat as possible against the meat. The very first time I did this, I was using a regular kitchen chef knife. Yeah, it was a nice chef knife, but honestly, when I got these knives, it doesn't even compare. And don't worry if you get a few pieces of red here and there. Save these tiny pieces because later on you can make a quick little stir fry. So right here, this is not silver skin, this is little bits of fat. We're gonna leave all that there. If you have a few tiny pieces left, it's not the end of the world, really. That looks pretty good. Let's flip this guy over. We don't need to remove a lot. There's some silver skin here that we're gonna remove. We're gonna remove just some big pieces of fat here. But for the most part, we're just gonna leave it as is. Like there's a bit of tendon right here, we're gonna remove that. Otherwise you're gonna be sitting there and chewing on it for an hour and it won't break down. We're gonna roll this up like so, and then we're gonna cut it into some about 1-inch steaks. Yeah, this is definitely about 2 pounds or so. Between each cut, if you can, wash your knife. It just helps with cutting, because if it starts getting very sticky from the fat kind of melting with the room's temperature, then you can't get as clean of a cut. So here's our butcher's twine. We're just gonna go ahead, and I try to go every inch. I don't know any fancy twine tricks, but all I do is I just kind of give it a twist so that way the thread can stay, and then I give it a second knot. I don't go overly tight, but just tight enough so it holds the meat together, and then cut off the excess. Simple as that. As you get down towards the end, I put the strings farther apart because obviously the steaks are gonna get smaller and smaller. But I've got kids and sometimes they don't wanna eat a lot. I don't like to square it off. I'm not serving it in a restaurant. I'm just eating it for me, and I like to take as much steak as I possibly can. That's where you want the big knife, so you can do one long sweeping motion so you can make some nice, even looking steaks. Look at that steak. Perfect. Obviously, as you come closer to the end, they get smaller and smaller. So you can cut them a little bit thicker. Like this is more about 1.25 inches, I would say. Yep. Right here, we're gonna do about 2 inches. A little baby steak for my son, he would kill that, honestly. So for us, this works perfectly. And this would be a little snack for me. And this will be another little baby steak for my son. Okay, let's get the rib roll back on here. I don't feel any bones. Sometimes you have some areas where you can actually feel the bone, or where the bone was sitting on here. The next thing we're gonna take off is gonna be the tail. The tail is gonna be running right here at the bottom or top, depending on how you're looking at it. And again, we're gonna do the same thing we did with the ribeye cap, and we're gonna remove that. There's a little seam here of the fat running right through it. So I'm just gonna kind of help the meat kind of separate. I'm just using the weight of the meat to kind of separate it. And there's a lot of hard fat in between this and the ribeye roll. So we're gonna come back to that guy. Let's take out all this super hard fat. There's too much over here, honestly. So let's start at the top here. I just like to take the whole eye out of the ribeye because that way I can customize the way I want my steaks to be cut. This is now the eye of the whole rib roll, and that's what we want. At this point, I'm just trying to remove most of the silver skin, really. So I'm gonna try and keep whatever fat I can and remove the rest of the silver skin as cleanly as possible. Let's flip this guy over. Yeah, there's some silver skin here, you see? So this is your ribeye roll right here. This is where the chuck is. And then this is where it starts to go into your New York strips. And then if you want, what you can do, this is what I like to do because my family doesn't eat a lot of big portions, besides me, of course. So what you can do is, if you want, you can separate this right here. You can tell it wants to kind of separate anyway, but I'm gonna leave these whole because I want to try and make some smaller steaks here and then some bigger steaks for me. So some smaller ones for my family and some bigger ones for me. So that's what I kind of do. And then in each packet I try to put one big steak and then a couple of small steaks so we can all get everything that we want. See how this skin is silvery and shiny? I'm gonna try and remove most of it. This is running down the length of the whole roll. Technically you could kind of leave it if you wanted, but I'm gonna try and remove as much as possible. My knife is angled slightly upwards, so look, there's almost no meat that comes off of right there. No wastage, and you get a nice clean ribeye over here. We got your smaller portions here, maybe 5-6 ounces per steak, about 1 inch thick. And then you got your bigger portions over here, definitely about 1.5 inches or so. And down. Good marbling, not the best, but it is a choice cut, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. So over here we got a pretty good amount of steaks out of that 1 13-pound ribeye roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Call it 9.5 of the ribeye cap steaks. The little ones are for my baby boy. And then we got some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full-size ribeye steaks. And then these would be considered as the medallion steaks from the end over there. So you got 4 here, 6 over there, and a couple little ones for my boy here. And then we probably got about 2 pounds of like kebab meat, which is awesome because you can throw some shrimps on a skewer. And then we probably got about maybe 2 pounds worth of fat that you can either make tallow out of or do whatever it is you want to. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good amount of meat that we got out of that one ribeye roll. We'll see you guys outside when we're about to cook, because we're gonna throw a few of these right on the grill outside. So here's the end result of all the cutting and everything for the ribeye roll that we just cut. And then we have a little bit of a bonus, maybe about a quarter or a third of a pound's worth of trimmings that we can throw in a little stir fry or just add it to some dish. Again, nothing goes to waste here. We got 2 full meals worth of ribeye cap steaks. That's gonna be definitely for a special occasion. And then we got 1 whole bag over here worth of your kebabs or your skewer meat. Again, you can cook it perfectly to medium rare. They'll be just delicious. You got another one here. You got 2 ribeyes, a ribeye medallion, a full ribeye, and then a ribeye cap steak. You got 2 full bags worth of pinwheel steaks, as they're also known as. And over here, you got 2 full meals worth of steaks from my family. Plus, we're making a whole meal today, plus a guest or 2. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation. If you have the chance, definitely go this route. And then remember to label these things. So I'm gonna be labeling these ribeye times 3, ribeye times 3. You get the point. And then throw them in the freezer. These are freezer bags. I don't have vacuum sealing yet. But the best way to save the meat is to vacuum seal it. That way you keep it the freshest, the longest. And that's the best way to go about it. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Show Chilling and Grilling. Today we did not grill, but we did cut a bunch of steaks out of a whole ribeye roll. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sometime in the summer, I'm gonna be doing a full chuck roll. That's probably my second favorite big piece of meat to cut because you get so many different cuts out of it, and it's honestly probably one of the best value cuts of beef that you can get. So with this video, I hope you guys stick around. If you haven't seen my steak videos, please go ahead, click on those videos, take a peek at it, how I like to cook the steaks. Save you guys some money. I hope you guys learned some good lessons here, or you guys got some tips and tricks and techniques that you probably or maybe have or have not seen before. If you know of any other tips and tricks, please let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.